Whispers in the Pine Barrens. The Jersey Devil awakens. Somewhere between folklore and reality, in the shadowy pines of southern New Jersey, the Jersey Devil lurked. I never believed the whispers of my childhood. Tales spun by drunken uncles around campfires, punctuated by the crackle of flames and the snap of twigs. A goat-like beast, wings like a bat, a scream that could curdle blood. They were stories designed to frighten small children into obedience, nothing more. Until I found myself alone in the pines, listening to the wind carry the echoes of its legend. It was early November when I decided to venture into the Pine Barrens, the desolate heart of New Jersey. The air was sharp and brisk, carrying that peculiar smell of damp soil and rotting leaves, a scent both familiar and unsettling. My name is Clara, and in the past 2 years, I had transformed from a carefree spirit into a person burdened by grief. After my younger brother Ethan disappeared while hiking in these woods, I became obsessed with finding closure. My heart ached with the need to understand what happened. The idea of the Jersey Devil gnawed at me, a dark thread woven into the tapestry of my pain. I bundled up in my jacket, the fabric rough against my skin, and slipped on my worn hiking boots, Ethan's last gift to me. As I marched deeper into the woods, the sunlight dwindled, swallowed by the towering trees that seemed to reach for the heavens. Their gnarled branches twisted like skeletal fingers overhead, casting long shadows that danced across the forest floor. The ominous quiet was almost suffocating, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves as a squirrel scurried away, or the distant call of a crow, its caw echoing like a ghostly warning. Just a little further, I whispered to myself, pushing through the suffocating gloom. The dirt path was uneven, roots snaking out like the veins of the earth. Every so often, I would pause, the silence pressing against my chest, and listen, half expecting to hear Ethan's laughter echoing through the trees. It was a fool's hope, but I clung to it nonetheless. Hours slipped away like grains of sand as I wandered, my breath visible in the chill, the sun barely a memory in the dimness. I had no particular destination, just a yearning to feel close to Ethan again. He had loved this place, claimed it held secrets in the wind, stories buried in the soil. I hoped to unearth them, not just for him, but for me, to piece back the fragments of my shattered life. As twilight draped its cloak over the world, the shadows grew longer, stretching into grotesque shapes around me. My heart began to quicken, the faintest tremor of fear rippling through me. It was then that I heard it, a low, guttural growl that sent ice coursing through my veins. I froze, beads of cold sweat forming on my brow. My instincts screamed at me to turn back, but a bizarre compulsion held me in place. "Ethan?" I called out, though I immediately regretted it. My voice cracked and echoed, swallowed by the oppressive silence. The growl came again, closer this time, a shiver crawling along my spine. My pulse thudded in my ears as I scanned the dimming woods, dread curling in my stomach like a serpent. "Come on, Clara, it's just a deer," I muttered to myself. But I knew deep down something else lurked in the darkness. I gathered my courage, choosing to press forward, driven by desperation. I was here for my brother, and I wouldn't turn back now. As I trudged farther, the trees shuddered their branches as though conspiring against me. Just as I began to think I might turn back after all, I stumbled into a clearing, and my breath caught in my throat. My feet planted themselves in the earth, and I felt as if I had crossed a threshold into another world. The moon hung low and full, casting an eerie silver light onto the clearing. In its glow, I spotted something unusual, a twisted tree, its bark blackened and its roots writhed unnaturally, like something alive. Beneath it lay a rusted metal sign, half buried in mud, "Beware the Devil's Woods." My heart dropped. I had heard of this place, tales spun by local fishermen and hunters who dared not venture too close. I was standing on hallowed ground, but not the kind that would instill reverence. Suddenly, the growl erupted again, louder this time, reverberating through the ground beneath me. My instincts screamed for me to run, but I remained frozen, caught between fear and an inexplicable urge to confront whatever hideous thing lurked in the dark. I peered into the dense shadows, dread curling in my chest like smoke. And then I saw it. A silhouette emerged, massive and hulking, its shape obscured by the trees, its wings unfurled with a shudder, vast and leathery, like a nightmare made real. The Jersey Devil stood before me, its eyes glowing with a fierce intelligence, reflecting the moonlight with a sinister glimmer. It was more terrifying than I had ever imagined, a creature of grotesque beauty. My breath caught again, a strangled gasp escaping my lips. I had to run. I had to get out of there. But as I turned to flee, the creature let out a piercing scream that echoed through the woods, vibrating in my bones, paralyzing me with sheer terror. My instincts kicked in, and I bolted, the forest around me a blur of shadow and sound. The branches whipped against my skin as I dashed through the underbrush, but the growl pursued me, a chilling reminder that I was not alone. I stumbled and fell, the ground rough and unforgiving against my palms. Scrambling to my feet, I didn't dare look back. I could hear its wings beating the air, and I ran faster than I ever thought possible, adrenaline surging through me like wildfire. My heart raced in rhythm with my footfalls, pounding the singular mantra, "I can't die here." The darkness enveloped me as I veered through the trees, the weight of my fear a suffocating cloak. But in the chaos, I felt a flicker of clarity, a memory of Ethan, of us as kids, daring each other to step closer to the edge of the woods. He had been fearless, always brave enough to venture into the unknown. I drew strength from that memory, turning it over in my mind like a talisman. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the growling faded into the background, replaced by the rustle of the wind among the leaves. I stumbled into a familiar path, my panic subsiding only slightly as I realized I was close to the old campsite where Ethan and I used to spend summers. The glow of the fire pit, now extinguished and overgrown, stood testament to our laughter and campfire tales. I collapsed onto the ground, gasping for air, my heart still racing. I was safe, at least for now. The woods whispered their secrets around me, the memories of my brother filling the air like a distant echo. As the moonlight bathed the clearing in a serene glow, I dared to look back into the darkness from where I had come, my breath hitching in my throat. Deep shadows danced, and for a brief moment, I thought I caught sight of the Jersey Devil again, a mere silhouette, watching, waiting, before it melted back into the night. And in that moment, I understood that the Jersey Devil was not just a monster born of myths. It was an embodiment of fear, loss, and the dread of the unknown. I could not confront this beast today, but perhaps in time I would learn to navigate the darkness it represented. I would return to the woods. I would find Ethan. And perhaps, just perhaps, I would make peace with both the legend and my own grief. As I lay there, shivering under the cool night sky, I closed my eyes, whispering a promise to the wind. Tomorrow I would return, armed with resolve, ready to face my demons, both human and cryptid. The sun broke through the trees the next morning, casting an amber glow over the campsite where I had found refuge last night. I woke to the sound of birds chirping, their melodies mingling with the distant rustle of leaves. I could almost convince myself that the horrors of the night had been a bad dream, but the jagged memories lingered just beneath the surface, like a bruise on my soul. I sat up, brushing the dew from my jeans, and scanned the area. Familiar but faded remnants of my childhood surrounded me. An old log we used to sit on, a tree we had carved our initials into, long overgrown with moss. The nostalgia weighed heavy, but somehow felt comforting. Ethan, I whispered, as if speaking his name aloud could summon his spirit back to me. Even though it echoed in the stillness, it felt right, an anchor to the life that once was. But that life was tainted with mourning now. I was here to confront more than just the memories. I had to face whatever it was that haunted these woods. I rummaged through my backpack for my flashlight, a beating heart in my chest urging me to move forward. I had spent a week grappling with the idea of returning to these woods, hoping to catch a glimpse of my brother, in the realm of the living, or at least in the fading shadows of his presence. As I stood up, my determination hardened like steel. Pushing deeper into the forest, I followed the path that twisted like a serpent. Sunlight struggled through the branches, and the air felt thick with anticipation. I could sense it. The woods were alive, aware of my presence, responding to my quest. Each step crunched underfoot, the sounds magnified in the stillness. I searched for the landmarks etched in my memory, the stream, the old stone bridge, laughing echoes of simpler days. But with every turn, the air grew denser, more oppressive. I quickened my pace, the desire to uncover whatever lay hidden in these woods, fueling me like a flame. My heart raced, propelling me forward until I found myself standing before the stream, its waters glistening, yet an undeniable chill swept over me. With each breath, I could feel the weight of the stories wrapped in these woods. They weren't just tales of the Jersey Devil. They were stories of loss and longing, of an unquenchable thirst for understanding that, like the waters, seemed to flow endlessly. "Show me," I murmured, half to the stream, half to the universe. "Show me him. Show me how to let go." The wind rose suddenly, as if answering my plea, sending a shiver down my spine. I turned instinctively, a sense of being watched curling around me. The sun dipped behind a cluster of clouds, casting the area into shadow. The woods became unwelcoming, the atmosphere shifting from a fairy tale to a foreboding reality. "Ethan," I called out, my voice trembling. "If you're here, give me a sign." Silence answered, with the growing darkness whispering threats into my ear. I felt my heart drumming faster. I took a step back, but froze when something moved, an unmistakable rustling from the thickets nearby. My breath caught. It sounded too heavy to merely be the wind. "Please," I whispered, feeling small and vulnerable. "I'm not here to hurt you." The rustling stopped. A heartbeat passed, and then I saw it. A pair of glowing eyes peering out from the underbrush. The Jersey Devil. The stories flooded back, tales swirling in my mind, but all I felt was an overwhelming urgency to reach out, to understand. "Ethan," it slipped from my lips, a plea more than a name. I took a cautious step forward, driven by something deeper, a thread connecting us, forged in both fear and love. The figure shifted slightly, revealing an outline draped in shadows. I could see the twisted horns, the elongated limbs, and yet there was something painfully human about its eyes. They were dark pools of sorrow that spoke of an unfulfilled longing. I could sense it. This creature felt lost, too, just as I did. It wasn't a mere monster. It was a distorted reflection of everything I had been running from. "You don't have to be alone," I said, my voice steadier now. "Neither do I. You can help me find him." In that moment, the Jersey Devil let out a mournful cry, a sound that reverberated through the forest, shaking the very core of my being. It was the sound of loss, of grief, of a bond that had been severed, and as it echoed around me, I realized I wasn't just pleading for Ethan. I was crying for myself, for the pieces of my heart buried in these woods. The figure blinked slowly, and for a heartbeat, there was a flicker of understanding, the shared pain that connected us. And just like that, the darkness retreated slightly, revealing a glimmer of connection between the lost and the living. As it turned and disappeared into the shadows, I felt a surge of warmth flood my heart. My brother was gone, perhaps forever, but in that moment, I understood I was not alone in my grief. I could carry him with me into the light, weaving his spirit into the tapestry of my life as I took another step forward, determined to embrace both the memory of my brother and the shadows that echoed through my past. Perhaps this was not the end of the hunt, but the beginning of healing, finding peace with the beast and the boy I had once known. I exhaled deeply, the weight slipping off my shoulders as I turned back towards the path, ready to navigate both the darkness and the light together. The forest enveloped me, a living entity, alive with whispers and rustling leaves. I took a deep breath, inhaling the damp scent of earth and decay mingling with the faint sweetness of decaying pine. My heart pounded, not from fear, but from the dawning realization that I was no longer merely retracing steps haunted by loss. I was stepping into a journey intertwined with the specters of my past and the painful beauty of my present. As I moved cautiously along the path, The moonlight spilled through the branches, casting a silver glow that danced upon the underbrush. Shadows flickered, phantoms of memories both cherished and painful. I reached for them, ready to reconcile the boy I had lost with the man I had become. "Ethan," I called into the quiet night, not with the desperation of before, but with a gentle hope, as if his spirit could still hear me through the veil of time and tragedy. "Where are you?" Each echo felt like a step deeper into the heart of the forest, but the darkness was no longer suffocating. It felt like a cocoon, wrapping me in a bittersweet embrace. I could almost hear him laughing, the soft sound of it twinkling like chimes in the wind. "Follow me," it seemed to say, leading me deeper into the familiar yet alien terrain. And then I saw it, a flicker of light in the distance, pulsing with an inviting warmth, so unlike the stark, cold glow of the moon. My body responded instinctively. I moved toward this inviting beacon, my feet whispering against the carpet of moss and fallen leaves. As I drew closer, the light coalesced into a shape, a clearing. Ethan had always loved the outdoors, a thrill-seeker with a reckless spirit. I could imagine him here, laughing, tossing pine cones at me, daring me to join him in an adventure. The clearing opened up into a meadow, wildflowers dotting the landscape like spilled paint on a green canvas, glowing faintly against the darkness. In the center stood a lone tree, ancient and gnarled, its branches stretching toward the sky like twisted fingers, beckoning me closer. And beneath it, a figure emerged. A child. "Ethan," I whispered, my breath catching in my throat, a fragile hope blooming within me like spring breaking through the cold. The child turned, and for a moment I was lost in those familiar eyes, wide and shimmering with mischief. But as I stepped closer, the dim light revealed the subtle differences. This boy was a younger version of my brother, but there was an otherworldly quality to him, a flicker of shadow behind his smile. "What took you so long?" he chirped, voice bright yet laced with an unsettling echo, as if he were both here and somewhere very far away. I thought... I thought I lost you," I stammered, the rushing tide of emotions overtaking me. "I've been searching everywhere." "Not lost," he grinned, "just hiding. Come on, let's play." Before I could respond, he darted off, laughter trailing behind him, like a ribbon in the wind, and instinctively my feet moved to follow. I chased him into the meadow, the sensation of grass brushing against my legs grounding me, but as I turned, the scenery began to shift. The flowers wilted, the sky darkened, and a cold gust of wind swept through, carrying the laughter away, as if it had been a dream fast escaping my grasp. "Ethan," I called, panic surging within me. "Come back." But the meadow faded into a hollow darkness, the once vibrant colors sucked away until I was surrounded by an overwhelming emptiness. Anxiety clawed at my chest, and an insidious whisper curled around my mind. "This isn't real. You're losing it." The urge to retreat surged through me, but before I could turn, the Jersey Devil emerged from the shadows, its sorrowful eyes fixed on mine. "You must choose," it rasped, voice like brittle leaves crushing beneath my feet. "Him or the truth?" "What truth?" I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. "I just want my brother back. He was here." "Ethan is lost between worlds," it said, glancing back into the darkness, where I could almost discern the outlines of children, trapped in a fog of shadows, their faces mirroring my brother's. "You cannot chase phantoms and carry your own light. You have to let go." "No!" I shouted, defiant and trembling. "He's my brother. I can't just—" "Then you will remain lost too," the creature murmured. The shadows pulled tighter around us, and I could feel them wrapping around my ankles like chains. In that moment of undiluted terror, clarity struck. Ethan wouldn't want me to remain shackled to a grief that dragged me down. Just as he wouldn't wish to be imprisoned between shadows and light, I inhaled sharply, gathering my resolve, planting my feet on the ground. "All right," I said, voice trembling but resolute. "If I can't have him back, then I'll carry his memory with me. I won't let it consume me." The darkness shifted, the weight of the shadows starting to lift. The figure nodded slowly, and the clearing began to return, the vibrant colors flooding back into the world around me. "Goodbye, Ethan," I whispered into the air, feeling the warmth of his spirit brush against my heart, not as a hollow ache but a comforting embrace surrounding me. And as the Jersey Devil melted back into the shadows, I exhaled deeply, a gentle breeze curling around me, carrying away the remnants of grief. I turned, stepping away from the sorrow, the forest now alive with whispers of hope, leading me back to the path, the one that would take me home. A forest breathed anew around me, each rustle of leaves and chirp of birds feeling like a gentle nudge towards the light. My heart, still echoing with remnants of sorrow, began to match the rhythm of life around me. I moved with purpose, the light filtering through the trees, forging a new path where only despair had dwelled moments before. As I walked, the memories of Ethan cascaded through my mind like amber waves of sunlight. I recalled the days we'd spent exploring these very woods, his laughter ringing through the trees, his excitement vibrant against the backdrop of nature. Those memories began to weave themselves into a tapestry of strength instead of despair, each recollection a thread binding me to the past, yet propelling me toward the future. After a while, I came upon a small clearing, a place that felt somehow sacred. The sun hung low in the sky, casting golden beams that danced on the grass. I sank down to my knees, cradling my hands in the soft earth, feeling the pulse of life beneath me. I whispered his name, Ethan, until it felt like a prayer. Each repetition was an invocation, a heartfelt plea that reverberated in the air, promising the world I'd carry him forward. The rustle of leaves overhead pulled me from my reverie, and I looked up to see a small deer peering at me from between the trees. Its eyes were bright and knowing, a gaze that seemed to encompass both the wild and the gentle. It stepped forward, inching closer, until it stood barely a breath away. In that moment, I felt a shift, a sense of understanding that nature itself recognized the battle I had fought and the resolution I had found. "Thank you," I murmured, my voice barely above a whisper, as if the words alone could bridge the gap between us. The deer tilted its head, and after a few moments that stretched like an eternity, it turned and bounded back into the depths of the forest, a signal of my own release, a sign that I was ready to embrace life again. For the first time since Ethan's disappearance, I felt lighter, as if I had shed the heavy cloak of sadness that had enveloped me for far too long. Rising to my feet, I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with the sweet scent of damp earth and pine. It felt as if the shadows had indeed receded, and with them, the fear that had clung to my spirit. It was time to go home. I turned back toward the path that wound through the trees, the sun now a warm glow against my back. Each step felt like a reaffirmation, a declaration that life was meant to be lived, even in the face of loss. I had chosen to honor my brother, not by drowning in sorrow, but by celebrating the joy he had brought me. As I walked, the memories of laughter, adventure, and love whirled within me like a joyful symphony, a reminder that he would always be a part of my journey. The forest, once a place of haunting shadows, was now vibrant with the promise of hope, and I knew I would carry that truth with me, always. The wind whispered through the trees, and I smiled, stepping forward into the light, ready to embrace whatever awaited me at home.